Hey, this is Liz, and you're listening to the SouthCack Syndicate Podcast.
Episode 12.
We're back.
Today's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, actually, it's a hurricane happening right now in the coast of South Carolina.
Luckily, I was kind of afraid about Friday because we're supposed to be getting it right now.
Yeah.
But it kind of toned down just a little bit.
Well, it took off the other direction a little bit, but I saw some pictures of Polly's Island where the pier is gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was a huge storm surge. Last I heard, it was 21-foot waves.
Wow.
And making more of a northern landing north of Beaufort, like Allendale, Georgetown. So
Crazy. I mean, it could be worse.
Oh,
right?
yeah. It could have been Florida, who had nothing spared by a long shot.
Yeah.
So anyway, prayers to those in Florida and on the coast of Hurricane Ian. How do they come up with that?
I think it's alphabetical, right?
Is it male, female, letter?
Oh, I have no idea. I think it is alphabetical, though.
Yeah, it is alphabetical. So interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Today we've got a good friend of ours and local business entrepreneur mogul.
Killing it.
Alex Butterball.
What's going to be awesome about this podcast is I've watched you guys from afar. You know, obviously I don't know you, but I mean, I kind of ran into you guys at the beer station.
Okay.
Before you opened. So I knew it was coming. I knew what you guys were doing.
Was that the early Oconee Young Professionals meeting?
Yeah, but even before that, I just kind of ran into you guys in there.
Might have been.
And was talking to, what was his name that worked in there?
Patrick.
Yeah. I talked to Patrick, and then after you guys would leave, he would, tell me, I think they're opening a brewery up in Seneca and whatever. So I was like, cool.
Yeah, so we opened up Keowee Brewing. Sidebar here, if I'd have known that was coming, I would have never sold the building right across the street from that.
I know.
Like I missed it. They announced, and then it was too late.
It was. You thought nothing was going to happen.
I mean, I thought I'd have to make it all happen.
Yeah.
Or a collective of private equity would have to make it happen.
I think the brewery was probably the best thing that happened to Seneca because it gave Seneca a staple on the other side of town.
Yeah.
An anchor.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
And so now people can build around it.
That was kind of our goal all along.
Really?
Yeah. Everyone knows Ramcat Alley is kind of happening and everything, and then the rest of the downtown was a little vacant.
Right.
And so it would just, the building was what we were looking for and, what we needed, and just happened to be on the other side of town, which was great. So we could help build up that side, and, we're hoping to see the middle fill in.
Yeah. Now, well, we can get into it in a little bit, but did you guys purchase more property too?
We did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Behind
we'll
it,
get in.
beside it, yeah. So before we get into too much, why don't you? So Alex has brought us several beers to try in these crowlers. So those people that are listening, it's very similar to a growler. You get it to go, but it's how many pints is this?
It's 2 pints, 32 ounces.
2 pints in a can instead of a glass. Jug.
Right.
So what are we starting with today? Tell us a little bit about this beer.
Oh, you started off with a big hitter.
Yeah,
I was like,
we'd go light.
Is that like a double IPA or something?
No,
it's a stout.
Imperial Stout.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
this will be interesting because I'm not a stout. I never drink stouts.
I'm not an IPA guy either. I'm
Well,
an
I know.
IPA guy.
Yeah.
But I am today. I'm a Keowee Brewing guy.
There you go.
We brought a little bit of everything.
Right on.
For everybody.
So why don't you pop that open?
Yeah.
And we'll start off with this one. So tell us a little bit about what's this called.
Whoa. This is called Mexican Cake Barista. And so we have done a beer previously that was called Mexican Barista. It was a stout that we did with,
Grab the paper towels. Yep.
Make it a little mess. We had done a stout previously that we did with the Mexican blend coffee from Silva Coffee out of Clemson.
Oh, yeah.
And so we called that one Mexican Barista. And then...
That was like a collab you did?
Yeah. So we got their coffee and put it in there. And then, with this one, everyone knows kind of the Mexican cake kind of theme for beers that a lot of people are doing.
There is a Mexican cake.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week.
Western Coast serves, and I forget the brewery that does it. Are you familiar?
Probably Westbrook. They were the first, I think,
Might have been.
to do.
And I hadn't tasted this yet, but I can tell you the Mexican cake from there is very expensive for one, but it's almost like a piece of art because there's so much going on.
Yeah, so we kind of put our own twist on it. This has coffee from Due South Coffee Roasters out of Greenville in it. It has Madagascar vanilla, and then it also has...
That's interesting.
Yeah, it also has
So good.
Yeah.
habanero peppers in it as well. So
I was going to say, I got some heat on that.
yeah. So and with everything that we like, or everything we do, we like to keep everything kind of balanced. So you're able to see or taste each of those flavors individually.
Right.
So you can get that vanilla up front.
For sure.
You get the coffee kind of in the middle, and then just a little heat at and it's not overpowering. It's not anything that's going to make you,
Be like, what the heck?
Not want to
So
drink it or
good.
anything.
That's perfect.
This is so good.
So
is this seasonal or is this just a one-off run you make?
this was kind of just a one-off. We've been doing a lot of stouts lately, which is kind of crazy to do in the middle of the summer because a lot of people, at least in this area, don't drink a lot of heavy beers in the summer.
Yeah.
And so, but we've been doing it to put a lot of it in bourbon barrels and age it and save it for a later date. And so we do that with each batch of stout that we've been brewing, but obviously we don't have enough to fit or fill exactly a barrel or bourbon barrels. So we have a little left over, and we have this little baby tank that we call our R&D tank that we
R&D tank.
Yeah. That's your personal drink.
Where you try new
Yeah.
stuff.
So let me ask you this.
throw it around.
I know you have your staple
Blood orange.
brews that you keep on the menu almost all the time. And then you have, I guess, some of these experimentals. What's the spread on that?
Yeah, so we really only have two beers that we keep on tap at all time, or try to at least. One of them is Good Friends, our Kolsch, which I brought along.
We've got
with
some
us.
in here.
Yep, and then the other one is My Blood Runs Orange. It's a blood orange IPA.
That's what I had last night. It looks like orange juice, which is the way I like it.
It's probably my go-to when I go there.
Yeah.
Is that one. Probably everybody's go-to when they go there. It seems like.
You said you wanted an
I'm
IPA.
not. I'm not.
He don't know what he is.
I'm not, but that one is good.
Yeah.
Because when I look at the menu, I was a Kolsch fan for a minute, and what I learned about myself and craft beer is my taste buds completely change.
Yeah.
Like I started off when I opened up Weston Co. I was huge IPA. Like I wanted to drink bong water, like the 420.
Right.
That sweet water is kind of where I was at.
Dank. You like it dank? Yeah.
And now it's like, oh,
No, you can't do it.
can't stand it.
Really. So, I think everything, the craft beers that I like are the ones that are truly crafted.
Yeah.
I mean, technically now everybody calls everything a craft beer.
Sure.
If it's an IPA, it's a craft beer, even if it's mass produced, right? Well, to me, that's not the craft going like that right there is very crafty. Mm-hmm. Like those flavors, that's, or even on the IPA side, I think like craft beers, like whiskey, like cigars, any of that stuff, your flavor profiles and what you like are going to change over time.
Yeah.
You're going to evolve. And then you probably make a circle right back to the beginning at some point.
Yeah. Even with me, I mean, it's a funny story. My aunt helped start Boulevard Brewing Company in Kansas City. They've been around since 87, 89, something like that. They're one of the largest breweries in the U.S. now. But my brother went to grad school out in Kansas City, and so when we were out there, he was like, "Hey, let's go check out Boulevard and do the tour and everything." And it's like, okay. At the time, I didn't care for beer.
Yeah. What was your
bourbon? It's
Bourbon.
always been.
Okay.
And Allison.
Is it still?
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
Allison, my wife, she knows. I always say bourbon was my first love, and
I say I love some bourbon.
she understands that. Yeah.
Which you probably heard that on the Kutu
Oh,
episode.
yeah, absolutely.
Allison's here with us on the couch, but we're going to bring her in later to talk about some stuff. But so you went and saw Boulevard.
Yeah,
Is this kind of where you figured out that you enjoyed the process of that?
No, this is, and like I said, I didn't even enjoy beer at the time. But at the end of the tour, and I don't think they do this anymore because it's probably not legal anymore. But they gave us like 20 minutes, and it was all you could drink, and so you could try anything that they made and see what you like. So I'm there with my brother, and I'm like, what should I get? I don't know anything about
like beer.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, just get their unfiltered wheat. It's what they're known for. And I was like, okay, great, I'll do that. And I tried it. I'm like, yeah, it tastes like beer, not really what I'm interested in. And he's drinking this dark beer. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's a coffee stout. And, at the time I didn't even like coffee either. So I was just like, I'm going to go try that. And he's like, you're not going to like it. And I was like, you know what? It's free. Why not?
Yeah. Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I grabbed a glass of that and I took a sip and I was like, oh my God.
This is not beer.
Yeah. And he was like, I was like, beer can taste like that? And he's like, you're kidding, right? And I'm like, no, that's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you'll find that too in the sours, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, this is beer?
Right.
There's
There's just a whole different world of different beers that I think general masses don't really understand quite yet. But once they get into it, then it was like with me. My brother was like, "Oh, I've got a world for you now that you know."
Now that you
have an interest.
So he was into craft beer before.
He was, yeah.
And so is he still into it now?
He's into it. He's not. He doesn't do it by profession at all.
Gotcha.
But yeah, he still enjoys his craft beer.
We talked about.
Does he live local?
He doesn't. He lives in Minnesota.
Okay.
We talked about wine and being a wine sommelier, and there's a name for the guy that's really an expert in the room on bourbon. Is there a craft beer terminology for the expert of
absolutely Cicerone?
Cicerone.
Yeah.
Cicerone.
Cool.
Did not know that.
Me either.
So are you a craft beer Cicerone?
No, I'm not. There are 3 levels of Cicerone. The first one is a certified beer server. And it's, if you're in the industry, you should be able to pass that, with your eyes closed.
You just got to know the differences between the different kinds of beer, probably.
Yeah, it's just like how to serve it, what glassware to put it in, what temperature you serve
How
it
to
at.
pour it,
and basic stuff like that. So if you're in the industry, you should be able to pass that pretty easily. I just haven't really ever taken the time to do it, or the effort
With all
to
the
do
free
it.
time that you have being a business owner.
Yeah, tons. So yeah.
Sure. And so
He's got to taste beer
So you
out
figured
of the
out
R&D tank.
you figured out that there was more to beer than Budweiser and PBR.
Right.
See that? And I wonder how many people, when you say beer, they think of Budweiser.
I
mean, I
the
guess-
vast
you know-
majority, absolutely.
Yeah,
guess
and I have
mead-
no idea that this kind of stuff even exists.
I guess mead would have been the first, right? And Viking era,
Yeah.
and then probably Anheuser-Busch.
Was very
It's
next.
got to be one of the oldest in the industry, I would say. So, have you ever been to the St. Louis location of Anheuser-Busch?
No.
Do yourself a favor. And
I've been
go.
to St. Louis one time, but I never crossed the river.
I love that city. It's probably my favorite city. If I could buy a condo somewhere, it'd be St. Louis.
St. Louis.
Yeah, but we went and did the tour, and at the end, we did not get 20 minutes of all you could drink. We got about that size taster.
Yeah.
And but it was made that day,
Yeah.
and it's just good. But it is one of the cleanest facilities, and just to see the production of how the cans are running 1,000 a second, and it's just like just assembly.
It's rolling the tops on them things.
Yeah, and then we went to the Clydesdale. They're the famous. That's the poster child of Anheuser-Busch is the horses, and so we went to the stables. I mean, they live better than we do. I can tell you that.
But and partly because they're showing everybody where they live.
It's insane. Yeah, that is true. So you found a love for beer other than Anheuser-Busch,
Right.
And decided at that point, what were you doing in life at that point? And did you know? Well, obviously you didn't, because you didn't know craft beer was a thing.
Yeah. No, so I was still in college at the time. And like I said, my brother was getting his master's out in Kansas City. And so I came back and, my dad had a homebrew kit and that he got for Christmas one year. And
Like a little glass jug.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he was like, hey, let's give it a shot. And I was like, all right, cool. So we did that a couple times with him and really enjoyed it. And then, shortly thereafter, I met Allison. Well, not met her. We knew each other from high school, but we met up again. We started dating, and then she moved to Wisconsin. So I kind of packed up my bags and moved along
Took
with
off.
her. Yeah. And then when I got there, I met a bunch of guys that were kind of like-minded and doing the homebrew kind of thing. And we really enjoyed it. And then we kind of stepped it up a notch, got a really, really nice system between the 5 of us.
Or something. Was it like a stainless unit or?
No, this is a old school 3-tier system. So there's 3 different burners run different levels. The middle one's for your mash, top one's for your sparge, and the bottom one's for your boil. And you just use gravity to kind of feed everything around instead of using pumps and whatnot that we use professionally. But it was a really nice system, and we did that a lot. Really, really
Just trying to create new things.
Yeah, and or just make your own. So it's one thing to go out to the store and buy it off the shelf, but it's another thing to go to your fridge and pull out something that you made yourself.
Yeah, that you created.
Create
Right.
itself.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We have I'm surprised, but I learned more about craft beer when I opened the tap room than ever in my life, and for right reasons. I've been a Michelob Ultra fan forever.
Yeah, you still are.
Yeah.
I still am. That's right.
Nothing wrong with it.
I noticed one thing about craft beer is it really will throw some weight on you, and it'll sneak up on you.
Oh, yeah,
I can't,
for sure.
I can't drink 12 Mexican cakes.
See, and that's my problem with
what I'm
those
saying?
is when I buy those from you guys.
Yeah.
When I open it, I feel like I got to drink it.
Yeah,
you
do.
can't put it back in the fridge and just. So that's 32 ounces, and if you get what I like to get, it's usually pretty heavy.
Yeah, I learned a lot when I opened the tap room. One of the things I learned is we have a collective group here in the upstate that love to home brew.
Yeah.
Like there are competitions they'll go to and they'll bring their bottles or whatever of their brew and win or reward. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I have no clue how that works. Moonshine's a different story, but
I think it all kind of works similar, don't it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's the mash. You got to.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the method of distilling all that much. A friend of ours, Ernie, owns Swamp Fox Distillery in Pendleton, and I've kind of watched over his shoulder as he distills a little bit, but still, it's not my forte.
Yeah.
So after the home brew,
Yeah. So my degree itself is in accounting. So I'm living in Wisconsin, working in the corporate world for accounting, and not having the most fun with it.
I bet.
Yeah. Realized I don't like being behind a desk all day and
watching everybody else's numbers go up.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So Allison actually found out there was a job opening at the local brewery that had just opened about 9 months before I started working there, or the job was posted. She called me at my work and said, "Hey, you need to leave your work and you need to start working for this brewery." And,
I bet the salary difference was
big time. Yeah. So she's
crazy,
absolutely a saint. And for it to be her idea,
She's seen you dying inside.
Right.
She's like, you've got to do something.
No, and it's nothing I could have ever suggested because I'm not going to be like, hey, you think it's cool if I take
cut
out
my salary
75%?
3/4 and go work at a beer spot?
Right. Not doesn't sound like the wisest decision in the world, but it was her idea. So I said, yeah, I'll entertain that thought.
I'll go apply.
I was excited. Yeah. And through home brewing and everything, we knew the owners already and had a good friendship with them. But I had no experience in commercial brewing at all. But I'm a home brewer. I knew what I'm doing. No, not so much. But so I kind of applied and bugged the heck out of them until they couldn't say no anymore.
Right. What was the job you applied for?
So it was honestly, it was very vague. It was just called a brewery assistant or brew. Okay. It wasn't even like brewer.
So you're not master brewer.
No,
you're not
No.
server. You're in the brewing world.
Yeah.
At the introductory level.
Bottom of the barrel.
Got it.
Yeah.
Sweeping the floors.
Oh yeah. Well, still to this day, that's But no, it was more like
Business
washing
owner.
kegs.
Yeah, more so now, probably.
Business owner.
Yeah.
That's right.
More like washing kegs, running the bottling line, pulling grain, getting dirty.
Sanitizing stuff, probably.
Absolutely, yeah. So kind of really just started at the bottom of the barrel and enjoyed it enough to, want to keep growing and ask for more and more tasks and learning more and more and, kind of just worked my way up. We actually outgrew the original facility that they had and opened a new brewery across town. And so we built that tap room by hand. So I kind of had,
Ground up.
looking back at it, it was, great training program really for kind of what we were doing. But so by the time we moved into that new facility and by the time I left, I was head brewer at the time. And I kind of saw it from bottom to the top.
I'd have to think there's a lot of things behind the scenes that aren't as fun as you would think it would be to work in a brewery.
Yeah, absolutely. So we tell everybody we're just glorified janitors. I mean, we
constantly cleaning.
All we do is clean all day. The yeast makes the beer. We just got to clean. And
you just got to give it something to eat.
Yeah.
And,
I think a lot of people make it much more glamorous than it really is. And it's not that great. I mean, it's I'll never say I don't like my job. It's just not as glamorous as everyone would think.
How long did you work there from a brewer's assistant to head brewer exit?
5 years.
Okay, so you pretty much got the whole concept wrapped up in your head. Did you know at any point of that time, later in the 5-year mark, that you were like, I could do this?
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't ever my goal or our goal to leave and start our own place. We thought there were opportunities there at that company that were going to come up, and they just kind of never came to fruition. And then in 2017, my grandfather passed away, and he actually was the last grandfather either Allison and I had on either side. Sure. So we're sitting in Wisconsin, 15 hours away from home, looking at each other, just going,
we need to be closer.
Yeah, what are we doing? Like neither one of us grew up around our grandparents. My family was from Ohio. Hers was from Florida. We grew up in South Carolina. kind of away from everybody. And we're like, if we're going to start a family and,
let's get back.
Do, anything long term, it's like we don't want to, be that far away from our family long term. So that's when we were like, let's start looking at what can we do to get back home. That kind of idea popped in our head. And,
right on. Lucky for us.
Yeah, no doubt. So Keowee Brewing is the first brewery in Oconee County.
Yeah. And I will tell you this.
Only brewery in Oconee County, correct?
Actually brewing.
Yeah, so I know Sock'em Dog did for a little while, but it was
I did, yeah.
That was a
T.O.
Yeah, that
small batch
up on the mountain.
Pretty small.
Was that one?
Falcon's Lair was his original. Oh. Now he's the garage, but he's not brewing.
Yeah. Okay. I was thinking
he was doing some small batch stuff. I know what you're talking about. Sock'em Dog is a geography place on the Chattooga River, and it was also a bar at one time that closed down. Now it's renamed as the Chattooga River Lodge.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Not a brewery.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then Joe Cassie Valley Brewing Company. They opened before we did.
Did they ever start brewing though? Because I know initially it was a tap room.
Right. Yeah, and they still are. Right. I believe they still are.
I think they are. They were I don't want to speak for anybody at Joe Cassie, but I think it was a water line issue from the county.
Right. Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
They couldn't brew because that was the original intent.
I guess water's very important, huh?
Very, very. Yeah, absolutely. And
do you use city water or do you truck water in?
No, we use city water, and that's kind of the 3/4 of the reason why we decided on Seneca as our area is the water from Keowee is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we do very little treating. I mean, it goes through charcoal filters to get out all the chlorine. Because you don't want that in your beer. But I mean, other than that, it's fantastic water to brew with. Yeah.
Now, I will tell you this because we talk about this a lot, mainly because we talk business a lot on this podcast. You guys, in my personal opinion, executed perfectly.
Wow.
I mean, it took you guys a while to get open.
Right.
But it was worth it, in my opinion. Like, you guys could have, like you see a lot of businesses do, where they just do just enough to get in the door and open, right? Mm-hmm. And I felt like you guys didn't do that, but it made the difference.
Yeah.
Like, when you come in your facility, like, it is super nice. Yeah. You guys read it. Do you not agree? Like
100%.
Those buildings before were
100%. Well, I remember I forget her name, but the lady that sat in there and sold flowers for years and the zebra striped awnings. Because when I bought the building next door where
drapery,
where Birds of a Feather is now, it was like we started doing work, and I'm just looking over there trying to figure out what the next play is. Because my goal was to buy the building that I owned.
Sure.
Put a entrepreneurship class down there and startups, and then buying the real estate from your building back to Ramcat and just putting new business that incubated out of the space.
Oh, right, yeah.
And me and the city of Seneca just did not see eye to eye on that goal and vision, and so I was like, okay. And then I just came to Walhalla, and started doing that model here. But I remember when it was that whole site. If it wasn't Ramcat, well, I remember when Ramcat wasn't Ramcat.
Yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
So, but from that other end was just a disaster.
Nobody went down there. Everything was shut down.
At hometown.
When you bought that down there, I mean, you knew that, but you were saying, you felt like it didn't matter with your kind of business.
Well, and we were hoping at least.
Well, it's a destination.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
And we've always said that, we, for the first, 2 years or so before any other businesses really opened down there, we were like, we're on our own little island over here.
Yeah.
There was just not much on that side of town to kind of support what we were doing, which was fine because we knew it would come eventually.
Right.
And things have really grown around there now.
So back to the execution, was that a planned thing? Like you were like, look, we're not going to half-ass this. We're going to do it. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right type of deal? Or was it like a snowball effect?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously anything that we do, we always want to do right. But you hear the old saying that whenever you do construction on a building, it takes 3 times as long and twice the budget.
Right.
And that's absolutely true. It took at least 3 times as long and more than twice the original budget.
Okay, I can imagine.
And so, I mean, we thought we would be able to renovate that building and get in there pretty quickly. But, day one of construction, the plans called for us to, make additional walls downstairs because we brew on the second floor. So we had to reinforce everything
to hold the weight.
To hold the weight of all the brew system. Yeah. So the plan called for us to build an additional wall in from the brick wall downstairs and have it sit on top of the footer, and we'd reinforce all the floor above it and rest it on that new wall and everything. And so we dug up the concrete, dug down to find the footer, and
there was none.
There was no footer.
Yeah.
Back in, I guess,
right?
I guess in 1889,
that's why your building
code.
Right.
That's why your building fell in. Yeah. I mean, not exactly, but I'm just saying because you know, back then there was no building codes.
No. Well, it was the roof that caved in.
But didn't the walls separate or something?
When it went all the way to the rain, it pushed the walls out.
Gotcha.
But yeah. So I remember when Alex started on this building, I had no clue who Alex was, where he was from, nothing. And I walked in one day, and I don't even know if you'll remember this, but Alex was up on top of a ladder, and he's just black. I mean, I was like...
Oh, I've got pictures of that.
And he's up in the ceiling. He's like, can I help you? And I was like, just checking on progress, man. You doing okay? And he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking, he's not going to open this decade. Because when I walked in, you were the only guy there. And I'm thinking, oh, he's just in the demo stage and it drops. And I've been there, man. I've been up in the top, and I've come out and like just pouring water just to get in the truck.
Right.
You know, because you were just that nasty. But that's what I love about Alex and the story behind Keowee Brewing. It's not just like, here's a check, go get that done. Obviously, a lot of contractors put some work in there.
Yeah, you did a lot of it yourself?
Well, no, the contractors did some. We didn't have the best contractor in the world. So
understood.
A lot of it.
That's also a part of... Yeah. I mean, we've all been through that too.
No doubt.
A lot of it was intended to be done by them.
Sure.
And then you have to go back and fix it or change it.
Or just do it yourself because you want to get it done. It's been 18 months. Let's get open. So.
But I mean, that is the story of Keowee Brewing. Like it is the epitome of owner-operator. And I've done the same thing with several properties. And man, the love that you have for old commercial buildings. Mm-hmm. There's just nothing. Like you can flip houses. There's no soul in an old house.
Yeah.
Like,
did you guys, was that the only spot you looked at?
Oh, no.
Because I think personally, I think personally it's like the best spot. It's so perfect for you guys.
Yeah, it's so funny because Allison actually found it online. She was looking at commercial listings online. It was literally the last one online. It had been online or for sale for, over 900 days or something like that. And so I had been flying back and forth every weekend. We were doing this kind of discreetly. So we were having to make up excuses of why I was gone every weekend, but flying back and forth every weekend, going out with her mom and, touring a bunch of facilities and checking them off the list or ruling them off the list.
Right.
So she found this one, and we'd been looking for a month at the time and found this one last listing. And she was like, you're just going to have to put on your HGTV goggles and look at the potential of it. And she was like, just go check it out.
Yeah.
And
location.
Yeah.
Because you guys, whether you meant to or not, perfect location.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of that was by design. It's the only property that we ever toured downtown Seneca that had any kind of green space to it.
Yeah.
And we knew that was something we wanted. We didn't realize how valuable that would become 9 months later after we opened with the pandemic and everything. But it just... there wasn't a lot of other opportunity around to have a building with green space.
So speaking of green space, the new property you bought that you're going to expand to, is that also going to be green space? Is that your plan?
Yeah. So, we bought the Bantam Chef property behind us, and it was the restaurant and all of the property behind it as well. So, kind of, if you know where G's Pizza is, that's adjacent to us. And then what was the former Blackie's bar, that green space between the two is our property now as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you're just going to continue to kind of expand what you got going on outside, the grass and the picnic tables type of deal?
Yeah. So we've got a lot of plans in store for that. And the great thing is, I mean, we've owned that property for over 2 years now. And we always say it was like the world's worst kept secret because we didn't really ever say publicly that we had bought it until about, 3 months ago or so when the paper interviewed us for our
I mean, I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, we talked about it, with people, just not like publicly.
Well, and I didn't even know, it's one of those things where I heard it, but I didn't even know if it was, true or, it wasn't like whoever told me, I don't even remember who it was. It wasn't like a for sure thing.
Yeah. But
there's a brewery coming. There's a brewery.
No, he's talking about the Bantam Chef purchase.
Oh, the property.
Yeah.
Right. So the goal of that property is, everybody knows we Blue Marble Deli runs our kitchen, and we have this tiny little kitchen, like smaller than the size of a food truck in our basement right now. We never intended to use it for food, and kind of just stumbled into that partnership with them, and we've kind of really outgrown that space.
Yeah.
So when that
That's
came
a
up for
great
sale,
fit, though. Bringing another local Oconee business into another local business. That's just a great partnership. It's very smart.
Yeah, so we've definitely outgrown that space and outgrown the capacity of what that space is able to do. So when that came up for sale, it's like we have to move on this.
So that's the plan. Maybe put them down there.
Yeah. So we've actually we bought it sight unseen. Long story behind that, but bought it sight unseen, and as soon as we walked in there, we're like, whoa. Why did we just buy this?
Yeah.
What have I done?
We're gonna have to tear it down.
Been there.
We're gonna go through another renovation. So I mean, we've redone all the floors and the walls and all that kind of stuff, taken out all the electrical, all the plumbing. I mean, it was all trashed. So we're hoping to have the drawings back from our architects probably next week or the following.
Cool.
They've said that they're almost done with them, and so we're gonna turn that into the kitchen, and then be able to move the kitchen operation out of the basement and, kind of expand our cooler space, all that kind of stuff down there so we can expand capacity and
pour more beers.
That's awesome.
Are you going to pour beers out there too as well?
We will, yeah. So we're going to have a mobile outdoor bar that we kind of roll in and out for the covered awning area that we have now. So we'll have a permanent place for it out there. So,
cool.
Yeah.
So we just poured another sample. So this is a local favorite that's always on tap.
This is definitely on the citrus side, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
Tell us about this one.
Okay, so this is my Blood Runs Orange. Obviously, a little bit of a Clemson theme with that.
Yeah,
so good.
But it is a blood orange IPA and New England style IPA. So kind of on that juicy spectrum already, but adding blood orange puree to it obviously brings that out a little bit.
Yeah, it looks for those just listening. It looks like orange juice, which is how I like it. I don't like to be able to see through my beers. Yeah, I like them thick. I call them thick and chewy and dank.
Yeah,
I like them. I mean, this is not a dank at all. And I love this. This is a great beer.
This is good.
But I do like them dank too.
So this has been on since day one.
Yeah, this has been on since day one. It's funny because we came up with the idea for doing a brewery. Back in South Carolina, we were from and everything, and Allison and I both attended Clemson, and so we've been fans of Clemson forever. And I came up with the idea of My Blood Runs Orange. Actually, it might have been Allison. We debate that who came up with the name of it, but we actually trademarked this before we even knew the name of our brewery or anything.
You just knew the beer.
Yeah, so we were like, this is going to be a staple. So we trademarked the name, and it's been on since day one, and it's one of those that we kind of sell out of it before we can make another batch.
Right.
And so my goal this year was to never have a day that it wasn't on tap.
That's awesome.
And we have gone 5 days so far without it on tap this year. So I didn't hit the goal.
But that's a good. That's a good thing, right?
Well, one of the things
you've created a very popular beverage.
Yeah, I mean, I walked in yesterday. That's what I got to go, which is awesome too. Grabbed it in a to-go cup and went down the street.
Yeah.
Tell us about the process of brewing. Let's take this particular beer. What does that process start out like? You got an empty vat.
Yeah. So, I mean, all beers are kind of the same. You've got, it's called a mash bill. So kind of your
recipe.
Yeah. Your grocery list for, whatever malts go into it.
Dump it in.
Yeah. So, longer story on that, but
I figured.
So we buy them pre-milled from our supplier. So we don't have a mill on site. We have a very small mill for like the specialty malt. But if you have a full size mill, you have to have a separate room for it, different ventilation, all that kind of stuff.
Dusty.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, it's terrible. And so we get it pre-milled, and so we keep all of our grain downstairs. Like I mentioned, we brew on the second floor. So coming in the morning, throw all the grain on the forklift, and we have a big hole in the floor, lift all the grain up through that, and then
that's cool.
Not about to hike them up the
like
stairs every day.
I bet.
It's like a dumb waiter.
Right.
Yeah.
So start brewing, and it starts out of the mash tun, hot water, and the malt goes in there. So, we're opening the bags, pouring them straight in. There's rakes inside the mash tun that help mix everything up, and then got a little paddle, do a little manual mixing.
What's the time frame from the time the forklift goes and lifts everything up to ready to serve beer?
Oh boy. Yeah, 2 to 3 weeks.
Is it dependent on the beer itself?
It is, yeah. So, anything that's higher ABV, you start out with more sugar in it. It takes longer for the yeast to consume all that. And then, later stage process stuff takes longer as well. So with an IPA, you're dry hopping it at the end of at the end of fermentation or during fermentation with a beer like this, and at the end of fermentation. So, each of those steps add a little more time,
right?
Take a little more time. And
so you being one of the only breweries in Oconee County, how many craft breweries like you or out there in the state of South Carolina?
Oh man. Yeah. Tons now.
More than 25?
Oh yeah.
More than 100?
Last I heard there's about 117 craft brewers out there.
But not all are in distribution. For instance, the people that don't know, you cannot find any Keowee Brewery Company beer anywhere but your location, correct?
Correct.
So you've set yourself on a path not to go the distributor route.
Hold on. For clarification, in the states that border us, North Carolina and Georgia, the same business could just put their beer in a truck, take it up to the local restaurant and sell it, correct?
Correct, yeah. And in North Carolina, they can do that. So a couple of years ago, they could do 25,000 barrels at a time in a year's time span.
Right.
And they actually just, I believe 2 years ago, raised it to 50,000. So they're progressing it even further in their own state.
Right.
Where, in South Carolina, we can't really even have the conversation of taking it from zero.
Yeah. And what's crazy about that, so there's a brewery in Greenville I've been to, Birds Fly South, is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's a taco joint right next to it that serves their beer. But in order for that taco joint to get their beer, it has to go on a truck to like Columbia or somewhere.
Yeah.
Through the distribution center and then back to that restaurant that's literally steps.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right.
Craziness.
I had a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor last week.
Yep.
Last week. And it was one of my questions I asked her.
Wow. Okay.
What are you doing to combat the craft beer laws to make us competitive like our neighboring states?
Yeah.
That's exactly how I worded it.
It's really not fair I get there's probably reasons that I don't understand why they do it, but it's
money.
I'm sure.
100%.
I'm sure, yeah.
100%.
Control.
I didn't care for the answer that she gave me, although our Lieutenant Governor is a jewel.
Yeah.
I love her to death.
It's just not fair to folks like you, though. If you could take your beer to Ramcat and those folks could carry your, you just take, small batches. The way I look at it is this. Make it a super small amount a year.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, like Evil Twin style.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if the state has a problem with where you can only distribute it through a distributor, make it so small. He was talking about North Carolina just went to 50,000 barrels or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Make it like so small where it still is like he could, take it to Vangelis or wherever and they could pour it, and it'd just be a couple kegs.
Do you even want to be in that?
Yeah.
When you started, is it a law that you want to see get taken care of? Would you go into distribution or do you just like brewing on site and selling on site?
Well, the way that we are right now, we wouldn't probably go into distribution
because of the amount you'd have to create.
Right. So
no loading dock.
Well, no, loading dock's not an issue. We have a forklift. Okay, we can take care of that. Yeah, we load and unload trucks all the time. The constraint we have right now is capacity. So we've got a 5-barrel system. It's not a big system, and we only have.
Yeah, he can't keep Blood Orange in stock at his own place right now.
Well, but we only have 4 fermenters. We have 1 bright tank, 4 fermenters. So there's only a finite amount of beer that we can put out, and it's not a lot of beer. We're selling pretty much everything that we brew instantly in the tap room. So for us to get into distribution, and I'm not saying that's not a goal of ours, but for us to do that would take more tanks, more time.
You have to figure out capacity.
Right. And like I was mentioning earlier, with getting the food out of the kitchen or out of the basement into another facility allows us to expand the cooler space. And then, we can, look at adding more tanks and adding more capacity, all that kind of stuff. But we're kind of at a capacity constraint right now with storage space, all that kind of stuff.
So other than just cleaning out the basement, do you have like future goals? I'm not talking about anytime soon, but do you guys have goals of raising your capacity, maybe buying a whole nother, what do they call that? A brew setup?
Yeah. Like another facility or.
Yeah. Maybe like up the block. That's not which I don't know how that would work. Can you if you brewed that somewhere else, could you bring it to your?
No.
That's crazy.
So that's actually tied into what we were just talking about with distribution.
Insane.
If I say, even wanted to open a place on Ramcat, right? Just a tap room. Just like a little hole in the wall where we could serve our beer or anything like that. I would have to sell our beer to a distributor, have it hit their dock.
Just to bring it to your...
Yeah, and then buy it back from them. So, I'd be losing money instantly on that, selling it to them at a loss, buying it back from them for, more than I just sold it for, so losing more. And then, having to turn around and sell that for, even higher that we are at the tap room.
Yeah. So you'd have to, if you expanded, it'd have to be on the same property. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, you could do, a larger facility and do one just distribution. So, if we ever bought another larger facility, we could do large batch beers out of there, just send them to distro.
I get where you're going.
And then have
not open to the public kind of thing.
I don't think it would really make sense because at that point you're kind of competing with yourself.
Yeah.
And
so
probably wouldn't be able to have like the same.
It's like
mix.
a scenario could be if he had the Greens building, which is now
Tanneries. Birds of Feather.
What's the hall? Crown and Crest.
Yeah.
It's like if you own that building, you could brew out of there just for distribution.
Right.
Have all the fancy tanks on display.
Yeah.
But that beer never make it across the street.
Correct.
And then you would brew across the street for those to consume inside of Keowee Brewing.
Right. Exactly.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we love about the state of South Carolina is we support small business.
Right.
Like for small business, most people think it's manufacturing. We talked about this last week. It's not the fact that BMW and Boeing are here. It's the 400 companies that feed into BMW and Boeing.
Yeah.
Right? That's the fabric of South Carolina. Do you consider yourself as a manufacturer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're categorized that by tax.
So it seems like the law should not apply here.
Yeah. I agree.
But it does. And so that's kind of where we're
at. Listen, I don't want to get into the politics of beer distribution, whatever, but if I'm not mistaken, does like a major beer corporation own the distributorship?
Some,
most
in some cases.
Yeah,
so you would have to basically Budweiser, whoever owns that distributorship, would be getting a cut of everything you sell.
Correct.
That's right. And in other cases, there are smaller distributors. Like we have very small trucks that feed into West & Co. That's not K&W. It's not Anheuser-Busch.
Gotcha. Right. So you can go through smaller distributors too.
That's right.
Sure, okay.
But one thing I did learn is that once you sign with one distributor, that's your only truck. You can't put your beer with 2 or 3 different distribution companies.
You have to be careful who you sign with.
Yep. That's right.
How hard is it to open distributorship?
I think it'd be easier to pass the law.
Right. Yeah. Everyone I have the conversation with is like, I got a great idea. I'll just do my own.
So
it doesn't work like that. Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second. What advice would you give to somebody who's home brewing now that has a dream to do a brewery here? Like, I don't, not on this one, I don't want to get into your hurdles, but what advice would you tell the home brewer today that has plans to want to go bigger?
So I always sum this up in one word for everybody. Don't.
Move to North Carolina.
No. I'm not even just saying not in South Carolina. And we can get into the semantics of it if you want. But I mean, I thought I knew it all when I was home brewing, and I was like, I'm going to go to this commercial brewery, and I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them what's up.
I'm going to give them some of my recipes.
Yeah. And then I walked in. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know anything.
Nothing.
It doesn't translate from home brewing to commercial brewing at all. I always tell everybody it's like in the early '90s where everybody got a guitar and they played 4 chords. And they're like, man, I'm going to start a band.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone's done it. I did it myself.
I did it.
Yeah.
Everybody's done it.
Everyone.
Jared only plays 3 chords though.
Yeah.
And the truth.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think a lot of people now are like, hey, I've homebrewed 4 recipes.
I can open a brewery.
I can open a brewery. Yeah. And I'm not saying don't do it. I mean, I'm saying
it's just like everything else.
Hone your skill a little more. And honestly, the God honest truth is, I would say, go work for a commercial brewery. Go work for a professional brewery. And I'm not saying like it has to be Anheuser-Busch or anything.
Yeah.
Go work for somebody even as small as us. Get your feet wet. Understand what's going on. Understand the processes.
We've talked about it.
It's just it doesn't translate from home brew into commercial.
Yeah.
If I had just dove head in and did it on my own, day one I'd have been
screwed. Yeah,
we've
talked about that on this podcast in the past, where that same question almost. We say, go find the person that's doing exactly what you want to do.
Yeah,
and then offer to work for free if you have to.
Yeah.
Work for free.
Just because what you're going to learn in that process can be more value than what they're going to pay you anyway.
There's no amount of money.
Yeah.
So take money out of this next question. Take the dollar amount completely out. What was your biggest hurdle of Keowee Brewing from the time you purchased the building to open the doors? And I'm talking things like getting equipment or permitting or things like that.
Honestly, it was construction. I mean, we bought this really old building. We were told when we bought it, it was built in 1940. And so we're like, oh, this isn't going to be that hard. And we start going in demo, and there were 2 walls, built in, and then 2 drop ceilings. It was kind of a lot tighter than it is now, just because of everything built in. So I think a lot along the way, whenever there was a problem, they didn't fix it. They just covered it with another wall.
Yeah.
And so we started knocking down walls, and we're like, oh my gosh, this isn't from the 40s. And so I went to the county chamber, or I don't even know what you
county council, like a meeting you're talking about, or you went to
deed's office.
County office.
Yeah, the county office, and traced it back. We were able to trace it back to 1889, which is way different than 1940.
Yeah. So the walls that you initially were breaking down were from 1940, but then the more you went back,
I mean, it might have been the second layer in there.
Yeah.
But I think even the layer that was exposed when we bought it was from maybe the 70s or so.
Yeah. I think the building across from you that we referenced, where Crown and Crest is, mid 1800s there.
Yeah.
And I had to pull the fire maps out of Columbia to get some of that.
Yeah. Yeah, from what I've heard, that's actually one of the first buildings that was built.
It was, and it was a general store. And oddly enough, some of Megan's, my wife's descendants, built the building.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and worked their shop out of there. Did you find anything cool during construction?
Not really that
like any
great.
bottles or coins.
So we found license plates actually that so there were some holes in the floor that they just put
slid through the cracks.
No, they use them as patch for license plates.
Oh, really?
Find that here all the time. Old Coca-Cola signs for 5 cents, hand painted metal, is above the ceiling that we're in, the room right now, covering up where old stovepipe used to come out. Like
gotcha.
They just used the resources that they had at the time.
We haven't been able to find a lot of information out about the building. Everyone's got pictures of Ramcat. Everyone's got pictures of the what is Norton Thompson Park now, kind of the central area there.
Right.
Yeah. No one has any pictures of that side of town. Mary's actually been able to find a couple of the old green drapery, but it's like no one wanted to pan the camera over there. But we do know in 1911 it was a post office. So
how cool.
We think it probably was built originally as a post office in 1889. Haven't been able to find any documentation on that, but in 1911 it was a post office.
I got a guy. So, and I'll see if I can find his number after we get done with the podcast. His name is Biedenbaugh.
Okay.
And he works for the Palmetto Historic Conservancy or something like that. And he actually drove up from Columbia.
Got connections.
And met with me. Yeah. And that's where I found the fire maps of the old town. And he gave me more information at a restaurant over a beer than I had gotten through any local in Oconee County. Yeah. So I think I've got his number.
So now you guys, if I'm not mistaken, you have pictures of the build hung somewhere in the building, right?
No.
Or maybe you did?
Every year for our anniversary party, we have, a big kind of bus-up party that, everyone comes out for. But we have a projector. And
maybe that's where I seen it.
Yeah, and we have a slideshow that we usually...
Maybe that's where I seen it.
I
was going to tell everybody, look, if everybody needs to come to Keowee Brewing.
Regardless.
In Seneca, South Carolina, yeah.
That's right.
If you live anywhere near this, come check it out. I was going to tell them they could see what we're talking about there, but you have to come on the anniversary to see that, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm there every day, so...
you just whip them out? Yeah.
I mean, they're on my computer, so...
We'll go ahead and throw a promotion out there. Like, if you mention this podcast, you get 1 penny off every pint.
Oh, no, we're not... No.
Not even a penny?
No, not at all. No, okay, so, I'll tell you why. All of our... prices are tax included. So if it says $5 on the menu, it's $5.
No penny, guys.
I hate change. I hate it. No.
But ask to meet the owner, and he'll tell you about the beer that you're drinking. Is that fair?
Perfect.
We'll do that. Yeah. We'll do that. Well, we're going to take a break here in just a second. We're going to bring Allison on. But before we do, tell us how important it is to have a solid teammate with you.
Oh, man. It's everything. everything. I mean, there's no way in the world we'd be able to, or I'd be able to do what we've been doing if didn't have the support.
Yeah.
This is another one of these podcasts where we could make this a 3-hour thing.
I know.
All right. So again, we're just going to
I'm like sitting here debating, like, should we make it 2 different podcasts?
Nah. We're at, I'll tell you what, folks, we're going to take a break right quick. Bear with us. And here's a word from our sponsors.
Are you looking for the perfect vacation spot for your next adventure? Whether it's hiking beautiful waterfalls, mountain biking Stump House Park, wake surfing on Lake Keowee, or jamming at your favorite concert, Megan Ketterman with Oconee Hospitality has beautiful homes available for short-term rental in Oconee County, South Carolina. Contact Megan today to book your next vacation stay at www.oconeehospitality.com.
Are you looking to make Lake Keowee your destination? Work with local licensed expert Rhea Land Smith, your certified resort and second home specialist at Lake Keowee Real Estate. Servicing buyers and sellers since 2013, Rhea is your local expert helping you navigate the real estate waters of Keowee. Let Rhea make your life a vacation. Call 864-710-9547. And remember, Land is her middle name.
Okay, we're back, but this time we switched up guests. So we have the wife and partner of Keowee Brewing, Miss Allison Butterball.
Really, the whole reason it happened is the way I see it, right?
No, that's right.
Yeah.
Alex, you really need to think about quitting your big-time corporate
That's right.
job and go sweep floors at a brewery.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, we all in Oconee and the greater upstate of South Carolina appreciate what you did on that specific
sacrifice
day.
you made, yeah.
You never knew that it'd lead into this. Welcome to the podcast, Allison.
Thank you.
So we have just poured our third sample, and this is called Good Friends, and it's a 5.2 ABV, and it's a Kolsch. What can you tell us about
Hold on, because now that I've tasted it, this tastes like beer I had in Austria.
There
So
you
is
go.
that close?
You're close. So yes, Kolsch is a beer that is German.
Okay.
It is actually from Cologne, Germany. So that's where it's originated. But yes, it is a Germanic style
Okay,
beer.
because it's very similar to what I tasted over there. What was crazy over there too is they would pour your beer, and then like whatever was left in the can, they'd roll it, and then they'd pour the last piece in, and it'd make the whole thing cloudy. It was
Yeah.
like there was like sediment in the bottom that they were trying to get out or something.
that would be the yeast.
Okay.
So they're giving you back the yeast. That's what traditionally makes German beers cloudy is some yeast.
Okay, cool.
So I heard you say earlier on the break that Kolsch is your favorite category here. This is kind of where you like your palate to be.
Just like Alex, it wasn't initially.
Yeah.
So Alex used to call me an expensive date because the first beer that I ever liked was a bourbon barrel aged stout. So those are traditionally much more expensive.
Yeah.
They're much higher in alcohol. So I was an expensive date and a cheap date at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
It didn't take many.
two 11% beers and I was down for anything.
Yeah.
So I started out with the heavier beers, and like a lot of people, I think, who get into the brewing industry, we have the appreciation and the love for a lot of the stouts, but at the end of the day, you've sweated your butt off all day long, and now you just want a good, clean, crisp beer that's refreshing.
yeah.
Yep.
And that's one of those.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still got a lot of flavor, but good, clean, and crisp. So this is actually a beer that we recommend to people who come in and say, I don't really like, craft beer. What do you have that's, similar?
What do you got?
Or-
Bud Light.
Yeah.
What do you have the closest thing to a natural light
Yeah.
or a Michelob Ultra? Is this where their go-to is?
That's what we recommend. I mean, it's nowhere close to
No, I
like a Miller
agree.
Lite or anything like that. But
See,
But don't hand them a Mexican
I couldn't.
cake.
yeah,
I couldn't do that job because I'd feel like I have the obligation to like tell everybody, okay, listen, this is why craft beers are what they are.
yep.
This is how they're made. I'd have to go into this huge thing where I feel like I need to educate everybody on, you just need to try new things. This is not like normal beer.
Yeah, but we're also in customer service too.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes in and that's what they want, that's what they want. And if they want to talk any
That's
more
right.
about the differences, then we're happy to,
Well, you
tell
guys do
them.
good about offering samples as well.
Yes, we offer essentially as many samples as you want.
Yeah. You just got to take it like 1/2 ounce at a time.
Well, I call those flights.
Well, no, they'll give you guys
They
do
will
like,
big
give
flights.
the little bitty. I want
yeah,
to
like
taste
if you just
that
want to
quick.
taste it
Yeah,
right
yeah,
before
yeah.
you order it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to change up the conversation a little bit, and I'm assuming you are a very active co-owner and partner of Keowee Brewing.
Full time now, yes.
So I want to kind of get in, and you said it earlier, to the customer service side, and more so the employee side. So how many people do you employ?
So it's Alex and I, and then we have 3 full-time employees who are also full-time bartenders. So Alex, when you were talking about, coming in and doing, maybe a podcast over at the brewery on site and people, working in the background, like the person working in the background is Alex.
Yeah.
So he's not going to have a lot of time to talk. So
I might have to fake it.
yeah. So
Extras.
Can we get Hooch over there?
Extras.
our 3 full-time bartenders that work with us, they do help in the brewery process before their bartending shift starts, because we really focus on training in craft beer. So we want them to understand the entire process and be able to talk about it, and be able to talk to somebody and tell them, oh, you like the Kolsch, it's your first craft beer that you've liked. Let me tell you more about it and get you more interested in.
So they're not just pouring.
Field.
They're not just pouring beers. They actually made it.
Are they?
Or help make it.
They help make it. Yes, and then we have like 5 more parts.
What did you call the? What did you call that?
A cicerone.
Cicerone. Is your staff all cicerones?
They are actually not all cicerones. Well, none of us are actually, and we have not even asked them to take the
test.
The step 1, the beer server. So a lot of people will have their servers do that. All the people who work for us, though, have been in service industry or worked in bars a lot, and it just really wasn't a priority for us because we know that they know what they're talking about.
We've talked about that. You learn more in the trenches than you do from
a test.
But the test is just going to tell you what you already know.
Yep.
That these
right.
these guys
That's
know
right.
what they're doing, or whatever.
I've never had a bad experience at Keowee
No,
Brewing.
never.
And here's what I will tell you is I've never been in there and saw somebody I knew and it's been packed. Like that's what blows my mind.
Well, that's the thing that's cool too, is you guys bring people not from just downtown.
That's exactly right. Like, I don't know anybody. They're coming out of Greenville. They're coming out of North Carolina.
Yeah.
Breweries are normally by trade a destination, are they not?
Yeah, I mean, if you like to drink craft beer, what's the first thing you do? And you're like, you have to go to St. Louis for whatever for work. I'm going to look up what breweries are in the area or near my hotel. What can I walk to? So you're looking for things to do. And usually if you like beer, a brewery will always pop up on your radar as something that you want to go do.
Yeah, if I'm out of town and I'm at a restaurant that serves craft beer, now it's very common, right? It used to be, it was only domestic, some import. But now you got a craft list. I always go for what's the closest brewery to where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I want a local.
I want that beer.
Yeah, I want a local.
Like, not just a local, but I want the closest one here, just in case tomorrow I can go visit that place. So, but I've been there every time. And the outside, I remember when there wasn't an outside, or it wasn't as big as it was, right? But now you got live music, you got tables, you got a nice green space.
So that was actually a product of COVID. So when you had kind of mentioned, you do what you can to get open. So we did kind of have a little bit of a rush to get open towards the end because we were trying to meet a city deadline. They wanted us to host for Seneca Fest. Just barely made it, but we had to shut down again to make more beer.
That was your
proper
your
opening.
Soft opening.
Yeah, that was our soft opening. Yeah. Yep. And we had big plans for the outside, but it was just one of those things where we just want to get open. No one's going to care about the landscaping, at this point.
Right.
So when we were in the forced closure for COVID, we had a little bit of time on our hands. We were still selling beers to go because we could, but we didn't have anyone there. So we're like, well, this is a perfect time to tear up the backyard. No one's here. So that's when we started work on adding in the tiers, because it was
Just
like
a
a little
hill at first.
Yeah, it was a little hill. I mean, we envisioned people bringing their picnic blankets and sitting out there, but nobody really came prepared for the lawn.
Yeah.
So we tiered it out, added picnic tables for the all the separation that we had to do with seating so that we could reopen, under the new guidelines.
Right.
And so that we used the COVID shutdown to our benefit, and that was
right on.
kind of helpful.
It's that entrepreneurial build the plane on the way down.
Yeah, you
jump off the cliff, build the plane on the way
right.
down,
and hope it takes flight.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to ask you the same question, and I'm sure I'm going to get the same answer, or I may not. What do you think your biggest hurdle was from the time you purchased the building to the time you opened? Alex said construction earlier. So
life, actually. So
you had a new baby at that time, right?
No, I was pregnant. So left my corporate job up in Wisconsin, was finishing my master's degree from Michigan State, pregnant, just started a new job at Clemson University working for the food science department where I'd previously gone to school. So they hired me when I told them I was coming into town.
Go Tigers.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, what else was going on?
Just a lot.
Just a lot was going on.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. We sold our house in Wisconsin, moved into my parents' attic,
Yeah. So you add all of the things you got on your
That
plate.
was your biggest challenge.
Yeah, I brought the baby home to an attic. That was,
Living in your
not
parents'
exactly
attic.
what I thought. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you got to do what you got to do to make the dream work.
That's right.
So.
And I'm sure that, things have probably got more organized now, but it's still, I'm sure, a whirlwind with you guys as far as just how much business. Because, you guys continue to seem to grow to me. Like every time I go, it's just slam packed. Like when you had the hill before, we would go and it would kind of, and I don't know the times I went, but it would not be as near as full as it is now.
Correct. Yeah, people love sitting outside.
Yes. It is packed now every time I've ever been.
Last time I was there, got some food, great food. Great. I thought it was super smart to partner with those guys and stay local. But sat at a table and I was next to a lobbyist out of Columbia. And I'm like,
Cool.
well, what are you doing here? She was like, oh, there's a brewery right here.
Yeah. Hey, brewery.
You don't have any breweries in Columbia? No, we were on the lake, but we came off the lake, and this is the destination.
That is the great thing, too, is that Keowee itself is a destination.
That's right.
And so then when somebody's like, oh, let's go to a brewery, and they look it up, there ain't but one. They're headed your way, right?
That's correct. And I remember when there wasn't a tap room. When I opened West & Co., craft beer was just for us, like just getting there. And at that time, I didn't, like I said earlier, I didn't know what a craft beer was.
The only tap room that I knew of when you opened that next door was the beer station.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Smagawa's place in Pickens. It was Appalachian Ale House.
Yeah.
Well, that's too far.
Well, there's Brews on the Alley is what we went to.
That's right. They were there. Mm-hmm. They were there too. And then I guess you had Joe Cassie at that. When you opened this, Joe Cassie was already up there too. But that's kind of a hop for us.
Yeah. They opened, they were just a couple months because I remember they invited us to come up and see the space before they opened.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So the public's really taking on to you guys. You ever have a lull in business? Or you just like out the gate and
Mad
just
dash.
wide open?
Yeah. Every restaurant, is subject to seasonalities and things like that. You just kind of, as you're open longer, you can kind of see what your trends are. Things like, right after New Year's, like we're going to be a little slow because everyone's, spent all that money for Christmas.
Partied
and they're not coming
out.
out. They're a little partied out,
Yeah. It's cold.
Yeah.
Until tax checks come in.
Well,
February.
or like people are like, oh, I'm going to try and lose 10 pounds by the end of January.
Yeah.
And then
that
Cutting
kills you.
beer out. Cutting the beer out.
No doubt. So we asked Alex earlier before the break how important a partnership is. And I believe y'all stated that sometimes you spoke at Clemson.
Yep.
So give me a little background, one on the question of what's it like to run an active business and then go home as husband and wife together.
Okay.
And then tell me a little bit about what your speaking points are at Clemson to other entrepreneurs.
Sure. As far as working together and, going home together, if there was any doubt in our mind that we couldn't do this together, we would not have done it together.
Yeah.
We very much value our marriage and our lives together.
Yeah, very few can do that. I feel like me and my wife's one of those that could probably work together.
But we actually do speak very similar language. So I came from the cheese industry. He's in the beer industry. When he talks to me about anything fermentation or sanitation or manufacturing,
A lot of chemistry involved.
things like that. We speak a similar language, so it's just like you're hanging out and talking to each other.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily work for us because it's something that he and I both enjoy.
Yeah.
So we get along on all levels really, and we consult with each other before we make decisions and things like that, just as we would at home for the business. So, and bringing me on full time, was a major step. For Alex, because I was working at Clemson in the food science department, and he realized he needed somebody that was going to work with him that required no training on how to deal with Alex.
Yeah, he could.
So he was like, "What more
You're a
perfect person
shoo-in.
than me?" Yeah. So
you're a shoe-in.
Yeah.
And he knows like there's a lot of things. There's trust. There's a lot of things that go into that too. That's not going to be a part of a normal employee.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
What a great partner. Yeah. Like you don't have to worry about the teal or any kind of issue there.
Not that they have to worry about that with their current employees.
No,
but,
I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that. But we've always been, when I was in corporate, we had a motto. It was slow to hire, quick to fire. Mm-hmm. And so, but when you're husband and wife, there's no motto. It's like, I married you because I trust you and I love you and this is going to work out great. Yeah. But Megan and I, when we did the lofts upstairs project, because I was already doing commercial buildings when I met Megan. And she was like, well, I'm going to help you with the lofts. And I'm just like, okay, that's going to be great. I'm in love. You're the greatest thing. We're not even married yet. Blah, blah, blah. We almost got divorced before we even got married.
Just decorating.
And I'm just like, why are you painting that color? Now, she loves the color, and now I do too.
Yeah.
But it was that kind of thing, but we figured out that we couldn't run a business together. And I say that to say this, every day we run our businesses together.
Yeah.
Every single day.
Well, she values your opinion. You value her opinion.
That's right.
Just in the trenches, you guys aren't together.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and then we feed off of each other really well, just like you were saying. I think it's very important. The only rule we have in our house is an open office until you go through the French doors to the bedroom. Once you go in the bedroom,
shut it off.
There is no work. We don't talk about it. We're not going to discuss it. Even if you have an idea, you better make a note in your phone.
Talk about it tomorrow.
And we'll talk about it tomorrow. Yeah. So that is our only rule. But other than that, and probably we don't talk about work after a certain time. At 10 o'clock at night, we're not
after 2
talking
glasses
about,
of wine.
Yeah.
That is a rule sometimes, especially if it's cab.
Yeah.
But so having a strong partner is very important. So tell me kind of what you talk about. What do you tell other entrepreneurs at Clemson when you guys speak together?
So they had us come in with the Spiro Institute. Gosh, we went in sometime last year. I think it was last fall. So we go once or twice a year to go talk.
Do they have a brewing science major there? No.
No. I can talk about that
Yeah.
in a minute.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine. So we go in and it's basically just, tell us your story, things like that. A lot of what we've talked about today. But what I do like to focus on is having a strong partner if you're going into something as a family business that you're starting, or even if you're, if you have a significant other or partner, that if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that they give you their full support.
Yeah.
Or have limitations on their support. Like I can support you,
it's a tough road.
Emotionally, but not monetarily. So don't go asking or whatever.
Yeah.
You need to have those expectations if you have a significant other in your life, because a lot of times business, can get in the way of a personal relationship.
Yeah. I mean, I've
family.
I've seen that. I mean, me and Heather, we definitely don't operate the same, but this is my wife. She's one of those that's like, I don't understand it, but I trust you
that you'll make the best decision for this house.
Yeah. I don't understand it, but I've seen, we've done this, we've been down this road before and it all turned out all right. So I got you type of deal. But
and one of the other things I talk about, you guys hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier when I was over on the couch. I was like, they ask, what do you suggest students do at Clemson, who are interested in being entrepreneurs, going out on their own after college? Always find somebody doing what you want to do.
Yeah.
And exactly, even if you have to just volunteer to get a glimpse of what you're going to get yourself into, that's better than just walking out the door and thinking, I can do this all on my own with no help and whatnot. So I think that's just the number one thing to
find
do.
the ones that do exactly what you want to do is what I say, because sometimes there's little things that may vary from different industries and they won't necessarily transfer perfectly. And then make sure they're successful too. That's the other thing, because you don't want to learn bad habits. No, if you find those two things,
that's right.
They're doing exactly what you want to go out and do, and they're successful, and go watch them. You're going to learn more than you'll ever get paid.
So if somebody came from Clemson and said, man, I just want to brew beer. I know I want to brew beer. Can I work at your place for free? Would you guys even entertain that?
For free? Yes.
like if they're just trying to get their foot in the door.
Yeah.
Almost like an internship.
Yeah.
But we're out of college, right? Or we're not out of college. We just know that we want to brew beer, and can we learn from you guys? I respect.
Which I'm sure that it would depend on what what you really truly thought their intentions were. Capable of, and what their intentions were. Like if you felt like they had great intentions and that they were actually going to come and try to work hard and learn, I don't see why you would turn that down, right? But then there's also the other side where people will say that I'll come work for free, but they're probably not even worth the work that they're going to give you anyway.
They just want to drink for free.
Whatever, right?
Right. With anyone that we allow, to have any special knowledge of our process or anything like that, we will.
You got to vet
them.
Yep. You got to vet
them.
You have to vet them. So tell us why there's not a brewery science major.
There's not a brewing science major. There is a food science major, and they do talk a lot about fermentation and things of that matter. And there is a program in the works for somewhat like of a brewing certificate that would fall under.
So they would take food science and then maybe just get the certificate type of deal, or how would that work? What would they major in?
Well, from what I understand, the intention of the program is there would be, how do I word this? You can take a course and it would probably count towards your science major of some sort.
Gotcha.
So you could be a chemistry major and take it.
So, but then,
Like
I guess
like an elective.
like an elective.
like an elective. And then if they went to pursue a brewing job afterwards, they could say, look, I'm a science major, but I
Yes.
have this little.
Elective and brewing.
Yep, I've seen
Yeah.
how the brew systems work in real life. And
Yeah.
how it's
And I understand all the chemistry and all the stuff behind it.
Yep, and Alex was mentioning that brew system that he homebrewed on when we moved down here to open Keowee Brewing Company. His fellow homebrewers said, you know what, you just go ahead and take it. You know, take it down there, work on your recipes. You know, while you're getting ready for the brewery to open. So they donated it to us.
Awesome.
So it's already his, but you know,
Have
all
they been
theirs.
down here to consume your?
Most of them have, yeah.
That's awesome. Like that, you guys went from doing it on the table to,
Here we are.
in a brewery.
Yeah.
And
A lot of people in line, and oh yeah, y'all helped me do this.
Yep. So he used that to hone in his recipes before we opened, and it hasn't really been used since we opened, and we actually just donated that system to Clemson University so that they can start their
cool.
program.
that's awesome.
If you wouldn't have done that, I would have expected you to build a shelf up on the top of the wall and display this. And always remember where you came from, right? Because that's so important.
Yeah.
At the size and the level you guys are, very successful.
That's when you get the glass jar back from your dad.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
The Mr. Beer Kit or whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
yeah.
I think it's very important to always remember where you came from.
For sure.
You know?
Well, I think it tells your story to everybody else as well. Like, I think story is very important.
So do y'all celebrate wins? We always talk about celebrating wins. I don't know what episode we hadn't talked about celebrating wins.
I think it should be a theme of every podcast.
It's very important that if I do something successful, I take a picture of it and send it to. I sent him a picture of a couple checks last week. I was like, "Hey, had a good day." And he's like, "Man, way to go!" Like, he celebrates my wins, and vice versa. I've always been a Kyle Voss fan. Do y'all find yourself doing that with your employees or in your own household between you and Alex, or
That's a great question.
or you're just so busy getting shit done that it's like, "Oh, that was cool. Did you see that? Awesome. Let's move on. Keep going."
Yeah.
It kind of, we just keep going. We'll share with our employees, like if we get on like a top 20 beer list of, South Carolina, we'll
cool.
share that with them and tell them like, look how awesome you
Look
guys are
what we
doing.
did.
Because we make the beer, we run the brewery, but they're also the face behind it. They're what keep people wanting to, not just come back and drink good beer, but, their hospitality is what makes people want to come back into the door.
Yeah.
You can find good beer in a lot of places.
You're right.
Makes them come back
You're
to
right.
us. So
That's very important.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So you really focus. Do you train on customer service and the customer experience from when they walk in? So when they leave, do y'all go over that with your employees?
yeah, lots of them though,
Your
like I had mentioned,
expectations.
they're great bartenders. They came to us as already great bartenders, so that was wonderful. But yes, we do continuous training. Especially if Alex and I go somewhere and we see something that we're like, oh, they do it this way. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's
we need to pick
really
that up.
we need to pick that up. So we will train on that periodically. But I even though I teach some classes or whatever, talk about entrepreneurship, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur.
See, and I think it's the opposite. I think that you're such an entrepreneur, that you're so far in the weeds that you don't feel like it, right?
I want you to say that again.
What
you just said. You don't feel like. Why don't you feel like an entrepreneur? Even though you do this.
I didn't start out this way. Like, I was completely happy working a corporate job, getting paid lots of money, getting paid benefits, getting paid time off,
crazy.
flying around the world.
You're the epitome of
I
of
loved
entrepreneur.
that. But I really enjoy that lifestyle. And for us, making this big leap was terrifying to me because we're self-employed.
Yeah.
Where do I get health insurance? I was pregnant. What was I going to do?
Yeah.
So that's why, I don't want to say that's why I picked up the job at Clemson. I really enjoyed that program, helping them with their ice cream program. But I was scared half to death. I was very comfortable with someone taking care of me and giving me money.
Sure, I get it.
But I think that's a common theme with every entrepreneur, right?
Yeah. Well,
Not necessarily, because her background and my background is very similar. Corporate world and airplane and hotels more than I was at home. Like, loved the lifestyle, loved going to different places in the country. And then I left and became an entrepreneur.
Yeah, but you're saying that there was no fear? See, my
really.
thing is technically you never left. Because you had income that was from that world.
Yeah,
and you
fair enough.
So-
and then, when
hold on, let me rephrase it. If all you had was Illinois,
yeah,
and you're like, I'm gonna go do this I'm gonna do this.
It'll freak me out.
See, that's what I'm saying.
But when Megan and I met, she's a PhD and working for the university, Clemson University at the time we met, and now she's an entrepreneur. Now watching her go from never being an entrepreneur to on her own with her own business now that's successful, watching her grow was very stressful because when we met, she's like, "You're crazy for what you're doing." Now, when we go to a different city, she's like, "I wonder what that building's cash flowing." Well, and I've created a monster, so to speak. So.
I can see her urgency, though.
Yeah,
she's so new in this entrepreneur space.
Yeah,
that I can see her urgency to like go
be successful.
Yeah,
yeah. But I say she has never been an entrepreneur, but she grew up in a household of entrepreneurs because her mom and dad are farmers.
Yeah.
Right, so they have always worked for themselves.
That's right.
And if you don't think a farmer is an entrepreneur, we have missed the bullseye here because they are absolutely the epitome.
You're dependent on Mother Nature
of entrepreneurship. So that's awesome. Tell us what your coworker.
My coworker Dave. So
tell us about Dave.
Dave Wentz. He's an angel.
Shout out to Dave.
Yeah. So Dave and I were traveling together on a work assignment, and Was
this when you were in Wisconsin?
Yep, it was when I was in Wisconsin. We were going to go audit a cheese plant together, and so we were driving, and I confided in him because I knew him prior to getting my job at Sorrento too. So I knew that he knew me.
Back up a little bit. Her background. We're not talking Keowee Brewing. This was in her corporate world where you were
I was a supply quality manager for Sargento. That was my title.
Cheese company.
Yeah, cheese company.
Okay,
yes.
continue.
Yep, yeah. So we were in the car together, and I told him, I was like, "This is what I think we're going to do. I think we're thinking about
freaking out.
And so now he knows that he's potentially losing his favorite coworker. So he, you could tell he's a little sad, but he really, he really respected me and liked me, and he gave me the advice. He was like, "Well, why not?" And I was like, "Well, at the time I think we had just turned 30." And, it's going to be a lot of money and, leaving our house and leaving the job. And, it's just a lot of unknown. He was like, well, okay. He was like, would you rather do it now or in 10 years?
Yeah.
Are you going to have more money in 10 years to do this?
Yeah.
Are you going to have more experience in making your own brewery in 10 years? And I was like, no, not really. I mean, maybe have more money if we saved. But, he was like, well, would you rather look back at this when you're 40 and be like, okay, we got 10 years under our belt and we're running a successful business? Or would you be even more uncomfortable at 40, leaving your job when you're getting ready for retirement? So.
And you can always go back to the corporate life.
Yeah.
That's all. I mean, maybe not the exact same job.
Yeah.
But there's always something, right?
Yeah. So I came home and told Alex that, and he was right. He was like, okay.
You're never ready.
Let's go forward. Mm-hmm.
One of my biggest life lessons was you're never ready. Even if you would have waited the 10 years, you still feel unready at that point, right?
That's why we always say, jump off a cliff, build an airplane on the way
you're
down.
never going to be ready. You just got to go.
That's right.
Figure it out. I mean, you can be more prepared, I guess, but you're never going to feel like you're 100% ready to, do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we asked Alice this, and we're kind of going to start wrapping up a little bit, but what is the advice that you would have for somebody wanting to get into your industry today?
Is it the same as his?
Don't. I think he said that because he doesn't want any more competition.
But, yeah.
No, competition's actually very good.
Competition breeds revenue. I've said it 100 times.
Yeah.
I will continue to say it. Competition is great.
Yeah.
But what advice would you give somebody that wanted that's home brewing today and wanted to be their own brewery?
Well, I would say not necessarily don't, but be very aware of what you're getting yourself into. So also go talk to somebody who owns a brewery and what it took to do that. But a lot of people don't understand, as Alex kind of mentioned too, is like it's not super luxurious. Like
it's work.
Fair.
It's work.
Fair.
Yeah, he works hard. He's at work 12 to 13 hours a day and every day of the week. And it's, it is actually a 24/7 job because we're answering emails or phone calls all the time.
Yeah.
And it's always on his mind.
It's working while you're not there too. Do you guys have like alarms and stuff on the heat? And isn't there like some kind of...
Yep.
Something like middle of the night, if the thing quits cooking, you got to take off.
Yep. So, I mean, he's left in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. because he's like, did I open that vent? He's like, I can't remember. And he's keeping it up all night. He's like, I just got to go. It's
Your own worst enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's not as, luxurious as it looks.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm sitting behind the bar watching a brewer.
Well,
brew
the other
beer.
thing is too, is like most people, I would guess that homebrew are passionate about it. And that transition from passion to job is a tough transition. I've experienced that with automotive myself.
Yeah, but dang, if you're passionate about it, you're going to make it work. If you're not passionate about it,
But a lot of times people are passionate about it because it's not a job. When it turns into a job,
cool factor.
When it turns into a job, it will ruin your passion if you're not careful.
Yep.
So there's like a balance there that you have to, and that would be one thing too. I would tell people. I mean, Alex over here shaking his head like,
yeah, you nailed it.
I experienced it with fabrication and cars.
Yeah.
Like I get to where I don't even want to go work on a car anymore. It's like, we've seen it over and over again. When you turn your passion into a job, there's a fine line. You have to walk there.
In other words, I don't think you guys are brewing at home anymore, right?
Oh, no.
No, we took that to another level. So we talk a lot about social media on this podcast. Mm-hmm. How important is social media to what you guys are doing today?
It's very important. Alex and I actually don't use our personal social media that much anymore.
Right.
We post almost every single day for the brewery on Facebook and Instagram.
At Keowee Brewing, what is the Instagram and Facebook?
Yeah, it's at Keowee Brewing. Yeah.
Are you TikToking?
No.
You don't have a ticker tucker?
As an older millennial, I have not gotten into TikTok. But we stopped doing social media, so I just never picked up on it. But
Of course.
we post almost every single day, which you'll actually talk to a lot of branding and marketing people, and they're like, if you're doing marketing the correct way, you don't have to post every day. No, we got to post every day.
Yeah,
I agree.
So especially like in our area, people like to know all the details up front. And if they have any questions, they're going to call you about it.
Yeah.
So, if you're not able to sit by the phone and answer questions every day, put all the information for the day on social media, all your details. Sorry if it's a little wordy.
Yeah.
But here you go.
I disagree with whoever told you that. Because I've got a lot of
agree.
I do a lot of stuff on social media as
I agree with
well.
what you're saying. Yeah.
And I think, especially with now, the way that a lot of these platforms are working, they're not showing all your stuff to everybody.
Right.
And so
You'll
just because
miss posts,
just because you post it doesn't mean that everybody's going to see it. And so like multiple posts, posting every day I think is A-okay. And like I think a lot of those guys that post 3 times a day is fine. I've heard.
I think Gary's like four organic posts a day on TikTok. And if you're not, I'm gonna call you out. Yeah, that's bullshit. But during the break, we talked about giving back to the community. Mm-hmm. Right. So tell me what you guys do in October.
Okay, so October is kind of the month that we spend a little bit of time raising awareness and funds for Oconee Humane Society.
Amen.
I have a couple of really soft spots in my heart, and dogs are one of them. And they just need a lot of help right now.
Mm-hmm. They get overlooked a lot too when it comes to. Yeah. I would think when people were raising money for certain organizations, I would think the Humane Society and pets in general get kind of left behind.
So do you do like a buy a pint, donate $1? Tell us about the program that you do, because this is not your first year doing this. It's usually October is Oconee County Humane Society or just Humane Society.
The Oconee County is what we focus on.
Love it.
So essentially the entire month of October is we're accepting donations. So we'll have a poster and a post out of what is most needed by the Humane Society. And they update the list every year depending on what they truly need. So we accept donations for that. We last year worked with a pet seamstress named Christina, and she had made bandanas for the pets. So
cool.
you would get a free pet bandana with a minimum donation,
Cool.
things like that. We accept monetary donations and such as well. But then at the end of the month, which the way the weeks fall this year, it's on November 3rd, we're doing an event where there will be adoptable pets there. There will be people from the Oconee Humane Society there being able to answer questions on fostering or adopting or just any general, like coming over and letting the dogs run around on Sundays.
It's awesome.
So just kind of bringing awareness to that group that's in the area, what they're able to offer the community and pet owners as well. So they even have programs where like you can come pick up free dog food if you're struggling and you don't want your dog to struggle as well as the rest of the family, come pick up free dog food. So we're just just helping them get their word out. And then, donations
awesome.
if needed.
Look, I got a soft spot, same as you for dogs. We've got 2 dogs. They're both rescues. I think there's enough great dogs out there that I don't need a breeder's dog. And I think rescued pets love harder than purchased pets.
Yeah.
And when I opened up 28 West, one of the first things that I did, probably in 2016, was had them come in and set up cages. And every customer that came in, we made a big announcement. We had a tip jar on the counter. You could donate to the Humane Society. And I think 2 dogs got adopted that day. And it was just super cool. And so many times it's overlooked, So I personally appreciate what you're doing for Oconee County.
That's awesome. I'll have to be out there November 3rd.
Yeah. We should write it down.
Barks and Brews.
Nice.
Bark and Brew.
There you go.
I like it. Well, listen, this has been great. I want to thank Alex and Allison for being here today.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And thank you for the beer. So this is our second guest that's ever brought something to the podcast. Greg Kutu was the first.
Yep.
But they might have shown him up because I've still got like 3 crowlers in here that we'll have to do after this podcast. So we appreciate Keowee Brewing. Tell the people again where they can find you on social media.
Keowee Brewing Company on Facebook and at Keowee Brewing on Instagram. And we have a gorgeous website if you're into websites.
Okay.
And I'm assuming it's KeoweeBrewing.com.
Yep, KeoweeBrewing.com. Keep it simple.
Right on.
Kyle, I appreciate your time this afternoon.
Thank you. I love drinking beer.
And I finished the podcast by tapping it off with the Mexican cake.
There you go.
Which is phenomenal, by the way, you guys. Congratulations on a successful business in Oconee County. We appreciate your time, and we will definitely either podcast from your location or have you guys on again.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.